You see, sometimes I think why some of the best don't get the responses like some of the big ones is because how hard this subject matter is right here. Electric field, evaluations, like the first evaluation is what tells some scientist, some mathematician, somebody with a magnet this toxic leadership stuff on, the I would wish I could show you here this the spine of the army and all that. That's the backbone of that thing right there. The tailbone, last in, first out, really, given the structure of evaluations and when you do them, because it collapses the thing and it makes it so, like, here's the the plots. I mean,
623-3 AR style. We're going to
we
try to
already did
break
this
this
one. I
down
think we already did
shotgun
this one,
style, if
Stoker.
you will. That way you have
Yes,
more
we
knowledge
did.
in your
We're
kit
gonna do the
bag,
other one.
whether you're...
We're gonna do the other one, Stoker. Board question soldiers can't do right. Again,
Team, this is
there
one of the
is
top questions that
Army
is asked on
Fundamentals.
every single
It's a read of a
promotion
book.
board, and you need to know it,
War
you
and
need to be able to
Peace.
talk about it and get it
It's
right. Army leadership. Right, you should know the definition of Army leadership, which of course is
their
to provide
vehicle
purpose, direction,
is
and motivation
prime.
to accomplish the mission and improve the organization. Now, you may get asked that question, what is the definition of Army leadership?
Why not use
Or you may be
shave,
asked to
drink
give
coffee?
a definition of leadership
I mean,
as it means
then
to you.
then you bringing up some stuff,
You
kid.
should frame this in a way that you can say and do so in such a manner that you're not stumbling over yourself, but it should be tied into what the definition of Army leadership is.
If
right?
you're high
It's
enough on
giving
the food
task and
chain,
purpose
it's its
to
own board,
accomplish a mission,
always.
to take care of your
But-
soldiers. However it is that you want to define it is up to you.
Mhm.
But I would submit to you that it needs to do those two things, right? It needs to give task and purpose.
And that's usually where stuff
It's
happens.
really more than just two
It's like,
things. That's kind of one thing. It's
if
two
he's
sides of the
using an
same
electric
coin.
noose
And then it
and I
needs
need
to
the electric
accomplish the
ring
mission
and
and
some
take care of
hydron
those who are
collider,
in
a
your charge.
backbone.
Now, this happens to be an area
yeah,
I think
but
a lot of people get wrong.
we gotta have talk about it
Because we start
because
talking
Kill
about
or
one
Kill
side of the-
Mockingbird,
of
but I
the-
was gonna
of
say
that
War and
other
Peace,
coin or the
like
other,
or
right?
a
Accomplishing the
military
mission or take care of
brief
our
that's
soldiers.
about the
If all
7th
you do is
Cavalry,
you talk about
right?
leadership
Way
is about
different.
taking care of
Kids at
soldiers,
private levels aren't going to get
and
that
you
to
never talk
where
about
they're supposed to
accomplishing
be
the mission,
in the number.
then you're losing one side of the coin. On the
And
flip side, if you only
coin,
talk about
also good.
accomplishing the mission,
Maxwell,
you're losing the other side of that coin.
if we don't bring
It's not-
something as a leadership
like
that we
breathing,
can talk
right?
about that. Maxwellism
Breathing
isn't
is
just
one
electricity,
thing
it's
with two
this
movements,
field.
if you will. And
That's
leadership is
just
the
two,
same
you
way,
know.
right? If all you do is breathe in,
When there's a leader
but
on
you
a
never
structure,
breathe out,
but it's a
you're
packet
going to die.
of what the
If on the other
nucleus
hand,
is.
all you do is breathe out,
You would see a
you are
breath.
also going to die. You have to do both. But breathing is not just one thing, it is both things, both movements put together. That's
Zero
what
to
leadership is.
And well, you have to sometimes
Accomplishing
as
the
a leader
mission
be able to take
and
down
improving
Hubble,
the
like
organization.
expansion,
You'd be able to
redshift.
frame this in such a
Why
way that makes sense to you.
is a
and
question
it's gonna make sense to the
mathematically.
board members.
Why
And so
comes
they
up only
understand that
because
you're not
looking
just
at
one-sided
hydrogen
in your area of
to
focus.
wherever
Because in
it's at
principle,
on the
like the
periodic
Army
table
gets
because
leadership
of
right.
whatever
But
natural
too many
things out there in
times
the universe,
we get focused on
as much
a
as
punch list.
chemistry,
It's a to-do list.
field
It's do
experiments
this, and then you
of
are a good
timing
leader.
events. It works like
But
push-ups. It
leadership
works
is
like
much more
chemistry.
dynamic. It's much more complex.
What did you
than
learn?
that.
But you would learn
And
the
so my
military
challenge is
core
meant
of
to
what
you,
that
team,
does, and
that
there's
you need
always
to
one of them.
dive
Why?
in
Because out here,
to understanding
on Earth,
how you can
not
be
being a
better
simulator,
prepared in order to
not
do these
being
two
the
things.
universe,
So how can I
to
be
condense
better
it
prepared
in
to
such a
accomplish the
way.
mission? I need to know what my medal is.
The old
I need to know
hat,
what my
whether
battle
it be
rhythm is. I need to
education,
know what
Bell,
those tasks are, that
Gresham's,
punch list of things
first
is
sergeant,
to get done.
second,
But
and
I
as
need to
much as
understand the bigger
Medal of Honor
picture,
recipients
because
in
too
that
many
field.
times we get focused on
Sometimes
a
you
specific
do
fighting
it. It's,
position, and we know what our left and our right lateral limits are, but we don't know and understand how that fits into a broader
evaluations are next.
sector
The
stage.
problem, you're pushing and your hands are wet and you
And
can't
without
write,
doing
right?
so, I'm minimizing my impact and my ability to impact up
And it will.
out.
That's-
Similarly, I need to know and understand how to be better
Some people are
prepared to take care of those
sociopaths,
who are in my
and
charge.
again, that's
What
where the
resources
dot
do I have?
metrics comes back into play.
What can I do to be better prepared to
2/3 out
understand
of 3/3
the
or
complex
1/3.
issues that my soldiers are facing on a day-to-day basis, whether it's work-related or whether it's
Let's
personal
look out here.
related.
Let's honest about that. What's
So being better students
put a
of
number on
humanity
that?
in
Tell me
general,
that's not the devil.
knowing
And it is gravity,
a better
because
student
if
of
we
knowing how
find a
things
factor
economics
like
work,
military
culture,
standards or
society,
leadership, whatever,
where they come
I
from,
have
what their
to
goals
you have to
and
do that
dreams
to
and
me
vision is
at this
for their
time
life.
for
Because the
board.
more I know and understand about my
And board in
soldiers,
itself is a
the more I can
fractal.
make them
It's
feel like they have ownership.
a Jacobian
give them
matrix that
pride
runs right-hand
and
rule
purpose
of
for
every
what they're
soldier.
doing. Nobody raises
E8
their right hand
relies on the
when they
cycle
take an oath
of what
to
that
defend
does,
the
because
Constitution
without
of
some
the
kind of
United States of
compression, the
America
squishy,
against
the
all
capacity, and the
enemies, foreign
energy.
and domestic, in
What's
order
this number
to
out
be
here?
a failure. Nobody says, I want to fail.
There's a lot of different ways to do it.
I want to be chaptered
I would
out of the
expect
military.
a Heatvex guy
wanna
to do a
get busted.
Heatvex
I
report
wanna make
from his
less
first
money,
land
right?
nav, though,
make
comparatively to
sense?
somebody who is
And so I need to
deep
be able to tie
index,
in and tap
middle,
into that.
you know, the
Nobody, when they watch a badass war movie, doesn't have some sort of tingling effect as they watch heroism on the screen. It taps into it.
Rooster
so as
Cole
a
footer,
leader, I
the
need to be
hanging
able
in
to
the
tap
beginning of
into
that
my
movie.
soldiers'
It's like, this is town,
desires,
boy.
dreams,
This is
goals,
how
and
shit
visions
is.
that they have for them, and help them cultivate this.
Yeah,
and
I kill a
learn how
bunch
to
of men
express
legal,
it.
like, in there and get in the courtroom
Once
and
I can
judge, I'm
do
getting the
that,
hell out of here.
then
Fucking
accomplishing
God.
the mission is that much easier because they've bought into
Ooh.
that mission.
Yeah, man, you
They've
watch
bought into who
interrogations,
we are
like,
as a
if it's the
team
field,
and as an
and you're in a
organization.
town, and there's some big bosses, big brothers from...
That is not something
There's
that
no
happens through a
building
punch list.
that is bigger than the police station, and
Yes,
then ipso
it's going to
facto,
happen
the
during counseling
military
sessions.
based
Yes, it's
out
going to happen in
refilled
Oak Tree
the
counseling
coffer.
sessions out here in the field or in the barracks or wherever we do this, different team building events. But there is no set how
Maybe
to
Amazon, because they're all
do this
you
thing
know,
of getting to know
shave,
them
drink
because
coffee about
every
it, but we don't talk
situation,
about it a lot. It's
every
new,
soldier,
man. We don't talk about it.
every encounters in past and present and future is going to be
We
different.
manage it. It's a wolf
And
out
so I
there.
need to
It
be
is us,
students
man. Sometimes shave, drink
of
coffee in town as a
how
security
people
unit. We're
work
too
and
big.
operate.
Somebody twat wants to walk
Now,
into
that not
town,
only applies
and
to
that
my
always comes
subordinates,
across.
but
Even if
applies
it's a
to my
military
seniors
operation,
as
it's like,
well.
these aren't our people. Wow,
What is
whoa.
my commanders and my
Right now we
senior
can.
enlisted
Maxwell Gate, let the
vision
tourist
who we
come
are as an
through. No big
organization.
deal. Even if it was Jason
because
Bourne,
they're
he
going to
can't
have
do anything over
needs
here.
that they need to have
Short
met
blowing it up
that
in
may not
Metal
relate
Detective.
to the metal. It's just a dream and a vision that
Beep,
they
beep, beep,
have
beep, beep,
for
beep,
our organization as a whole.
Beep, 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 beep.
How do I fit in that? If there's a need, I can fill it. And again, there is no checklist that you can just run down.
No.
And if you just do
But
1,
there is
2, and 3,
1, 2, and
you'll
3.
be a good leader. It's much more complex.
Right now,
than
sometimes
that.
it makes big arguments later. It's like, I saw the
How do I fit
F-35
into
go
the
into the water
environment around
boss,
me?
and they're going to ask me questions one day about this.
What
Do
are the
I stand up
challenges
with
that people
Salty?
are facing?
I mean, are you going to die?
Do I ignore it,
Today's,
continue
out
to
here
move
on the
on?
States at least,
or do I face it and find a way
I shouldn't.
to fit in
And it's
fix,
usually
be
why,
a part of the solution?
deep down, you're going to crack a little bit. You would sit here quiet in the
Leadership
room.
is,
You would
is once you start walking in
kick
it,
like a mule named
is much
Sherpa.
more
You would
complex
exopponent
than
from a
simply providing
logarithm.
purpose, direction, motivation. Because if you don't know how to provide purpose, direction,
How to
motivation,
solve an exoponent with a logarithm. How to solve a
if you can't
logarithm with
explain
an
the why
exoponent.
as you're giving the what,
Hmm?
you're going to lose.
An exponent, A, B, and C,
people.
1, 2, 3.
It's not just a
It's bones, and
generational
it's
thing.
for you, General.
It's not just something that only younger soldiers want. Everybody wants to know
Do the joke in the mill with the safety off.
how
You don't,
they fit
you wouldn't
into
weld anything to
this
this
overarching architecture
person's
of task
architecture.
and purpose.
Just throw stuff on it arbitrarily to the mass gap.
How are you going
It
to do that
doesn't
is going to be
graph
different on each
to
individual person.
combat readiness at the later
So you need
phase
to
of
know
only
your
using
team
wave functions,
so that you can
Neopathic Harrison.
communicate effectively.
I don't know,
with them.
Rico. I really don't know. I have to
Do
rely
you know
on
how to communicate?
that
Do you
number.
know what the lines of communication are that best work for you and your soldiers? Some soldiers will respond extremely well during
Just
counseling
me and you in
sessions
town.
and
We
during
meet each other
hip pocket
downtown
training.
and hit it off. You know,
Some
it's
soldiers will
it's a
not,
syndicate,
and they
it's a
need
militia,
to
and
be communicated by learning
even
and
though
doing.
my
That's where
backyard
they experience
could
the most
be it.
learning
It's just
from,
Stoker's unit
is
over
by doing
what
and executing,
Tread Doc's
and getting
model of
that- those
as close as
rehearsals in.
Fort Jackson
getting
to
muddy, getting
what
wet.
Kentucky is going to get
Right.
it.
everybody has different ways and
Evaluations still
styles
have to,
that you can
and you do them
communicate effectively with them.
and train a unit, and then
so
they
you
can
need
do
to be
one, and then
students
you buff
of how to
that
be
off in the
good
cyclotron.
instructors and all the different modes
Some
and
of you
medias that we have
ain't
available
even ready
to
for that
us.
yet, but that's the point in this. This is the right
Because
answer.
if you're talking,
You
but
won't
somebody's
know what
not
it is
hearing
yet,
you, they're not
and
in
you're
receive mode in
not
the first place, or their transmitter is
charge-wise
at a
close to the
different
numbers.
station.
If there was kids and we could see
They're
past
not going
the
to
screen,
really be hearing what you say in order to be able to
I'm
put
recording
into
parallel,
action
Stoker.
what
This
needs to
case
be
is
done.
Of course, you would see from here.
Giving motivation
Briefs
again is
to a
along the
kid.
same lines, right? People are motivated by